Let's now explore the structure of a Kotlin Multiplatform application. Here on the left we have the file navigator of Android Studio. We are going to click to expand on the Daily Pulse folder. As we can see, we have three folders, one for Android app, one for iOS, and one for shared. We also have a couple of Gradle scripts down here, but the most important parts of the structure are those three folders. As you can imagine, this is the folder that contains everything Android specific. This contains the iOS application, and as you remember in the previous video, we opened this folder in Xcode in order to build the iOS app. And this folder is actually where the magic of Kotlin Multiplatform happens. It is the code that we are going to share between Android and iOS. Let's first expand on the Android app. We can see that it has the structure of a normal Android application. It has the build.gradle file, like every normal Android application, where we define the compile SDK, the minimum SDK that we want our application to run. As you remember, we defined this when we were creating the project. We have the version code, version name, and pretty much it looks like a normal Android application with the Android specific dependencies over here. Of course, if we expand on the source, we are going to find the Android manifest. And if we expand on the code, we have a main activity and a main application theme. This is because by default, we are using Jetpack Compose for the Android application. Let's now expand on the iOS app folder. For those of you who are more familiar with the iOS development, you are going to be familiar with the project structure over here. Of course, we can explore it either from the Android Studio, or if it's better for us, we can do it from the Xcode. It works either ways. So as you can see, we have a content view over here. As we are using Jetpack Compose for Android, we are using Swift UI for iOS. And here is where you can see the actual text that we are creating on the screen. And we are importing the shared module over here that is containing the logic. Now finally, let's expand on the share folder. We can see that it also contains a build.gradle file. Kotlin Multiplatform is using the same build system as the Android application, which is the Gradle. And if we expand on the source, we can see that we have an Android main, a common main, and an iOS main folders. So as you can imagine, in the common main, we are going to insert the code that is going to be 100% common between Android and iOS. In the Android main, we are going to insert Android-specific platform logic. And in the iOS main, we are going to insert iOS-specific platform logic. Now you might be wondering what's the difference between Android main and the actual Android application. Since we can also insert Android logic inside the Android application, why do we have an Android main inside the share folder? This is something that we are going to explain in great detail as we progress in the course. We are going to see what code is supposed to go in the platform-specific folder of the shared module and what code is supposed to go in the actual Android-specific project. To give you a hint, the Android project is going to almost entirely contain UI code, while in the Android main of the shared module, we are going to have all of the rest platform-specific code. To give you the big picture, let's examine the following slide. So as you can see, we have the common main module over here, which is getting combined with the Android main module, and it is creating the Android library. A similar thing is happening to the iOS side. We have the iOS main, which is getting combined with the common main, and it is producing the iOS framework. The Android library is an actual dependency to the Android project, the same way that the iOS framework is getting imported into the iOS project. As you can see, when we open the Xcode, we are actually importing the shared framework into our project in order to use the shared code. This shared module contains both the iOS main and the common main. As we can see over here, it will contain this code and this code. And on the Android side, if we open the buildgradle.kts, we can see that we are importing the dependency projects.shared. This is getting built from the common main and the Android main. Now that we have made clear what the project structure of a Kotlin multiplatform looks like, let's go ahead in the next video and examine the default code that the project contains. See you there!